Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we brought Jeb to the moon, and landed him there, which was great, but we left him there, which is not so great. Sorry, Jeb. We'll come get him one of these days, but I think not just yet. Mounting a rescue mission to the moon is a complicated endeavor, and we don't actually really get very much out of it compared to just sending a new mission to collect different science, except for like the sort of moral quandary of leaving him up there for so long. I'd like to pick him up someday, but it doesn't have to be right away. And I wanted to look at the tracking station to see like how all this stuff is going, and I noticed there's a few new things. We have this set of things pointing out to the moon, which I guess is the lunar landers. What are they called? DeepNet? ComNet? Is there some way to see these? Whatever. Its connection to all of the space centers, to the comlink network thing, whatever it's called. Oh, here it is. Comlink. ComNet network. ComNet first hop. ComNet path. ComNet vessel. Okay, so we can get rid of these. Right now we're visualizing like everything. But we can just sort of first hop for whatever we happen to be looking at. Cool. Whoa, what is that? What? Why is it turned purple? Goliath National Projects? That's our crater. I don't understand what this is about. It says... Is this... Do we have a contract to get something here? I'm a little confused. Because... This is the apoapsis and periapsis and so on that they want us to set, for that contract we took for launching an unmanned probe into orbit. I don't know what this one is. I guess this is the orbit for this contract that we haven't taken yet, that we were just sort of thinking about taking. Fair enough, I guess. Anyway, so I wanted to go look at that contract again. I noticed something interesting in between episodes. No, that's the Science Center. Get out of here. Mission control active. Equatorial orbit of Kerbin. So they want it to go to their specifications, blah blah blah. It should be unmanned, able to like do antenna stuff. But what's interesting is I noticed the apoapsis, periapsis, and inclination, and was like, okay, yeah, great. I know how to do all those. Perfectly equatorial. Apoapsis and periapsis both somewhat high, but not unreasonable. But then I saw this. Argument of periapsis. And I wasn't sure, like, what the heck does that mean? So I went and looked that up. And it's a bit hard to describe without a diagram, honestly. So let's go back to the tracking station. I can't really draw a good diagram of it anyway. But the idea is, in an orbit, you sort of have a periapsis here and an apoapsis here, right? Fine. But we could rotate this by any amount. Like, we could put the periapsis here, or the periapsis here and the apoapsis here, have them be just as far away, but have them be just as far away, but sort of offset from this particular position. And so the argument of periapsis is a parameter that describes at what point in your orbit is the periapsis. Fine, but what's interesting about this to me is that it's defined in terms of your ascending node. Basically, the angle from your ascending node to your periapsis, that's the argument of periapsis. But when you're at a 0-degree inclination, you don't have an ascending node, really. Right? It's just... like, you're not ascending or descending ever. You're perfectly equatorial. And they want us to be perfectly equatorial. So what I don't understand is why this is the desired orbit, according to contract parameters. Why couldn't we put the apoapsis here and the periapsis here? Seems like it should be okay. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I know how to adjust this once we're in flight. Just burn radially to roll the orbit around until we get to where we want to be. But, I don't know. I feel like it's sort of ill-defined to have an argument of periapsis when your inclination is 0. But also, of course, your inclination is never actually 0, right? There's slight variations. I don't know. I found a question on, like, Stack Exchange where someone was talking about this, and they mentioned, like, yeah, someone was, like, writing a flight simulator, and they're like, yeah, try setting your inclination to 0, your eccentricity to 0, and set your argument of periapsis to, like, whatever. And it's like, this is crazy. If you have an eccentricity of 0 as well, like, what even is your periapsis? It should be the same as, I don't know. Seems crazy. But they've drawn a picture here, anyway, of the orbit they want us to have, and we should be able to get that orbit. So, great. I'd like to try doing that before I do another moon flight. It'll be a good experience with, like, attaching solar panels and stuff, so why not? This whole vessel is sort of overkill for that. So what I want to do is just build a new one with this, since it'll give us SAS control. We could use this cheaper one, but I'd like to have SAS, especially if I can convince it to point, like, prograde for me or something. I don't know if we can. I think it just has stabilization assistance. It doesn't have target tracking or direct, orbital parameter set following, but whatever. Okay, so that's the idea. We want to put this on. That's going to be, like, the final stage of our thing. And on it, we could put a nose cone on top to reduce... That seems like a good idea, right? Aerodynamics. Nose cone. It's a little big. Alright, well, whatever. I guess we just won't then. What is important to put on this thing? According to the contract, it has to be able to do communication. So we'll put on one of these antennas. Like, it wants to go on like this, I guess. Can I could point it up like this, which it looks a little cooler. But I think like this is probably better. So it is more flush with the rocket and also not flapping about in the wind up above it. We could put more than one of these, but I don't think there's any particular reason to do so. And there's an extend antenna button, so that'll get it out a bit. So maybe I actually want it to be... Let's orient it with the antenna extended. I kind of... hello? I don't know, I kind of want it to be like that. Or something. Oh, it's on the wrong side. Like that. But maybe pointing sideways? Cool. And if we now retract it... Yeah, it's sticking out to the side, so that's dumb. But if we pick it up and rotate it like so, and then we retract it, yeah, looks fine. It extends to like this, which is fine. And while in takeoff, it'll look like this, which is fine. Great. So what else do we need on it? Well, we need some electrical bits. We want a rechargeable battery pack and some solar panels. Wow, these don't even have extending arms. They just like sit there, huh? That's fine, I guess. Any direction they're facing, they should eventually point at the sun, right? We could maybe even put 2 of them on. Like that, or something. Cool. I like it. We could put some science bits on here. Do we have a contract to, like... save... Oh, save this as, ComSat 1. Save. Do we have a contract to do science from, like, High and Kerbin or something like that? Did we give up that contract at some point for some reason? Yeah, oh, science data from space are on Kerbin. So, we can put on, like, some mystery goo on this as well and transmit the science home using this antenna that we are happily attaching. Now this thing holds electric charge by itself, so we shouldn't need to put a battery on. This will recharge the battery. So we'll just slap on some science goop, like so. Wait, is that what this is? That's the mystery goo containment unit? It looks kind of funny for some reason. I wonder why. Am I used to seeing it facing the other way or something? No. Maybe I just never look at it that close. I thought I remembered it being black, but apparently it's white. Okay. I accept. Cool. So that's sort of our orbital stage. Once we're done with everything, we just want this. Everything else is to get this into orbit. Have we met our construction requirement, by the way? It won't tell me. Build a new unmanned probe. So we want next a decoupler. Not a Rockomax one, though. Just a normal one. Boy, this guy is small. We don't have any smaller decouplers? Alright, well maybe we won't. Maybe we'll leave a little bit of extra junk just attached to this for fun. Is there anything useful we could attach to it? Not really. We could attach a Science Junior, I guess, but I don't think there's any science left to do. Attach a thermometer! We haven't measured the temperature out in orbit, I don't think, because we've always re-entered. So that's what we can send back as well. So I think this is just like a really tiny... We need like... There's a science tree area that gives you thinner pieces and adapters for thinner pieces. Maybe there's something structural to adapt to that? This is the opposite. It matches like to bigger pieces. I think it should be okay to have this with a large decoupler. It just looks a bit silly is all. Ideally, we would research a bit more science and have a way to do this without looking ridiculous. Research some more of the thinner pieces, but we need to go to the moon to do that, and I'd like to do this mission before then, and I think this ought to be okay. And if it's not, we're just losing an unmanned probe. Who cares, right? So now we need to put on the stage to get into orbit, which jet engines, that's our monopropellant tank. Why is it so quiet? There should be music while we're in here, I feel like. I'm going to just briefly leave and return and see if the music comes back. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on with that. There's the music. Alright. That's all this. We can attach this, and... Now, do we want a really small post-orbital stage to do orbit adjustment? I think we do. So we'll make it a 3-stage rocket. 1 stage to get up into space, and most of the way to orbit. A 2nd stage to get into orbit, and then finally the 3rd stage to adjust orbital parameters, fine-tuning, that kind of stuff. So I think this is probably enough for that orbital stage. We don't need to get all the way to the moon with it. Yeah, see, like, ideally we would use just smaller pieces, you know? But, I think the best we can do is... Where is our Terrier? That's a good orbital stage rocket. Okay, so we have that. That's our final stage. Very, very small payload for the rest of the rocket. To get that up into the right orbit, we need some more fuel. Honestly, this is probably too much fuel, but it's not a big deal. No, we just want one of these. Oh, put a decoupler in first. There we go. And more fuel. We put in like 4 of these in our previous stage. I think 3 honestly ought to be enough. We have a smaller upper stage. We're not trying to take it to the moon. We don't need to push it as hard. Okay, fine. Let's try something like that. And we'll put at the bottom of this a... Where's our skipper? That's a big one, right? Yeah, we don't want that. Swivel is what we've been using quite successfully. And attach some decouplers for the booster stages. I feel like we can actually do with just 2 booster stages for this smaller rocket and just fill them up with more fuel. What we did for the last thing was we had 3 boosters and we filled them up like halfway, which seems a bit silly to me. If we have 2 boosters, we ought to be relatively okay, right? So toss on these guys. They are way too big. What about just this? Maybe what I'll do is put on 3, but have them be these sort of mid-grade ones, like so. Where's the center of mass for this? Yeah, this is fine. We could put in a reaction wheel in the middle, but we're not going to have quite so much thrust to fight against. I don't think we'll need it. So let's just put on these nose cones. It would be nice to have parachutes catch these, but I never seem to make that work, so I won't. And it still was useful to have these guys holding on to us. Right? So this looks kind of okay, doesn't it? I think. Should be enough to get us into orbit, and then this can correct the orbit, and this will be final adjustments. Our staging looks all wrong, though. Put this all together. We'll fire this gently to provide our gimbaling, as we always do. Then decouple that, then decouple this, and stage this. Honestly, stage these at the same time, I think. If we want to not throttle, we can just not throttle. And we don't have a parachute stage this time. It's never coming home. Alright, well, this looks pretty reasonable, I think. It needs, I guess, some fins, though. Nothing too fancy. Maybe something like this little winglet? Sure. What do you guys think? Looks okay, right? Cool, so this is our comm satellite. And if this mission goes successfully, it might be worthwhile at some point in the future to launch more of these to establish a better communications network. At some point, I gather, we're going to want that. And you can do stuff like launch orbiting science platforms, where like you can do science in orbit rather than returning it to the planet. And like it's easier to do science in orbit. Well, that is, it's sort of hard to get the raw data to rendezvous with the orbital science platform, but if you do, like, they can research it more easily because there's no gravity or whatever, and so you get more science out of it. And so anyway, it would be nice to have, like, comlink relays to enable stuff like this to transmit the data back home, and I don't know. Right now we have enough, we have satellite coverage over the whole orbit of Kerbin, but being able to launch things like this when we need it will help, even though I don't yet understand why we might need it. So let's go ahead and launch this and see how it goes, and also see what SAS controls this unmanned probe has. So if I turn on SAS, just stability assist. Okay, so it's as good as a level 0 pilot, which is fine with me. So let's throttle down to like not much at all. Just enough to provide a little bit of a nudge. I'm used to looking over here to see where the pilot is. Turn on the SAS. Interesting. We're not bringing monopropellant. This unmanned probe doesn't have monopropellant in it by default like the manned one does. So all we need to do is get into a particular orbit that they want. But we'll start small by getting into any orbit and then adjust as desired. So again, we're pointed north, so to go east we will press D. So I'm ready to launch in 3, 2, 1, listen. Oh, and let's try to get our apoapsis in sight, or our trajectory in general. Alright, time to tip over a bit. I'm having trouble doing that. Let's throttle up some more so I can exert a little more authority. Come on. There we go, like that, please. Just hold her steady. Didn't really work. The SAS is really fighting me on this. Or maybe it's these boosters fighting me? I don't know. Alright, get rid of that. Our orbit is just a mess. We're headed up to 56, so... Alright, let's... SAS on. SAS isn't doing anything because we're not throttling at all. So let's that's prograde. Fine. Let's aim there at least to get our apoapsis higher. A real pilot would have been much better for this, I feel like. So let's see if we can get this thing under control a bit. Okay, I've got the roll handled. Let's turn over now. That's spinning the wrong way. Throttle up. Okay, like there. Can we hold SAS there, please? Fine. Alright, now we have an apoapsis that's out in space. 72 is fine. Let's cut here. And when we get closer, we'll do a prograde burn again to lengthen our orbit. In fact, can I add a maneuver real quick? How much am I going to have to thrust? A minute and that much? Alright, well... that means we're coming up real soon. Oh, I can't turn it all when I'm not throttled. We don't have the, we don't have any authority, I guess, in that position. Right, well, throttle up all the way, and just aim here. Let's get rid of this maneuver node. And our apoapsis is staying nice and low because we're thrusting right near it. How are we doing on fuel? Doing okay. It's definitely harder to control this than the previous one. I wish I had included a reaction wheel. I didn't realize that I've been doing this much maneuvering while at 0 throttle, and I can't do that without a reaction wheel. We're about to run out of fuel in this stage. But that's fine, we're almost in orbit. Alright, there goes the fuel. Jettison, and throttle up this last stage now. Our periapsis should be emerging from the planet any second now. There it is. When it gets out of the atmosphere, we'll cut the engines. Ah, stop. Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. So our apoapsis is way out here, and what was our periapsis over here has sort of become our apoapsis because we burned a lot. If we'd been able, again, to dump all of our delta V exactly at the node, that wouldn't have happened, but, okay, fine. So, what I want to do now is what? Can I set this as my target or something? I guess it's already set, or at -5 degrees. So, I'm confused about how to get to this orbit. Huh. Alright, I'm not sure exactly how to fix the inclination just yet. It looks like I think we'll have enough fuel to do this. I'm just not sure yet exactly how to do it. Let's get the orbit back up out of the atmosphere, though, first. Just raise a tiny bit. That's plenty. So we'll just burn for like no time at all when we get to apoapsis, and that'll do it. So let's just get rid of this node, and I'll warp to here. Stop. Oh, we have to throttle up a bit just to even point towards prograde. Jeez, I keep forgetting. Am I not able to throttle? What's wrong? Why can't I do anything? Am I out of satellite? Is there some reason that we can't... I don't have probe control. But there's like comlink all over the planet, right? Shouldn't I be able to? Where's it? Show me the network. Huh. We're out of sight of this, I guess. We're flying too low? No, that's him. This is us. We should definitely be in sight of... Maybe it's on the other side of the planet? Huh. Do I need to, like, extend the... I can't now, of course, but... Do I need to extend the... this stuff? This? Like... It's retracted, and I can't extend it because we're out of communication with the probe. Alright, well this is getting a bit more exciting. Let's time warp, and see when this goes from no probe control to probe control. And see if we can try to understand why that is, and try to make allowances for it in completing the mission. I don't understand this. Let me get my finger on the... well, whatever. Are we still... no probe control, way over here, huh? We're coming in down to periapsis fairly soon. I guess our periapsis isn't that low. It's not a humongous problem. We'll bounce off the atmosphere, probably. Should be coming into view of KSC any minute now, right? That is why we're not able to control it, right? It's because... No, we ran out of electricity! Well, aren't the solar panels deployed? Turn off the SAS. I can't. I don't have any electricity. What's going on? Huh. Well, we're back in the atmosphere. There's the solar panels. Is this not... Maybe this is not rechargeable? And I needed to put a rechargeable back. Oh, look, it just... Yeah, SAS disengaged. Okay. Just ever so briefly. We're gaining electric charge again. Why? Oh my gosh, that looked terrible. I turned off the SAS, and that was enough to start getting us electric charge back. Okay, so a battery really would help. This thing can hold a lot less electric charge than the stuff we've been using previously. Okay, so can we extend the antenna? Like, is that CurbNet access? What in the world? I don't know what this is about. Close? Well, alright, we've succeeded in recharging. And we're at periapsis. What I really wanted to do, though, was raise my periapsis to be a bit more circular. And, oh right, I wanted to keep an eye on the electric charge that we have. There we go. So we're headed back up out of the atmosphere already. We can't point this anywhere. Yeah, if I turn on SAS, it starts draining immediately. Oh, it actually does work. Okay, so maybe when I thought the problem was that we were out of thrust, we weren't thrusting. Maybe the real problem was that we were out of electric charge, and I just, like, coincidentally was... Yeah, it runs out so fast. Okay, well, let's burn retrograde just a little bit here to bring this orbit down so that we have a bit more control over our... Oh, stop. Ugh. I got off of retrograde because I turned off the SAS to try to save electricity. Yeah, so I think the problem actually was that we were running out of electricity, and I just, like, didn't even consider that as a possibility, and so built up in my mind the idea that we were really we could only control it while under thrust. Under throttle, is that the right word? Alright, that should do. Turn off the SAS. Save your electricity. And our fuel is still fine. We have enough to adjust the orbit, I think. I just want to circularize it, and then whenever we get opposite of what we want our periapsis to be, we can throttle up, setting our apoapsis to where in the future we would like our periapsis to be. And then when we get there, we can throttle again to adjust the other side of the orbit, is the idea, the plan that I have. We're just going to have to be a little more careful with our electric charge, I guess. So when we get to apoapsis... Well, actually, why wait, right? We don't need to regularize first, do we? We can, Actually, I would like to regularize so I can... Our inclination is wrong. So, at apoapsis, add a maneuver to burn prograde a bit. Oops, come back. Just like this. Fine, that looks pretty steady. And that's a 1 second burn. Very, very short. Warp to next maneuver. We still have... Where did all my electric charge go? It wore off. It's gone. Because we're on the dark side of the planet and just, like... Oh... I'm not very happy with that. So maybe I needed to hibernate somehow until I got here? Because I saw there is a hibernate thing you can do when we were looking at the ship earlier. Right? But I don't know how to leave hibernation mode. Get out of here. Yeah, I can't control it right now. Huh. Well, if we come back around on orbit again, our periapsis is pretty uncomfortably low. I'm worried we might re-enter the atmosphere permanently on that next trip. Oh, hibernation on. Alright, I caught it. I caught a glimmer of light, and it looks like clicking that was enough to start our electric charge refueling. Just a bit. Sadly, we are sort of missing the burn we wanted to do. I'm not sure what to do about that. Turn off the encounter. Control is locked. Very funny. So... can we have it, like, wake up from hibernation when it is near a maneuver node and, like, automatically do the thing? I don't think we can do that. That's way more sophisticated than, like, the SAS controls that we have. Huh. But, alright, here's an experiment that I would like to do. What happens? Can I turn hibernation off again? Yes, I can. So, while it's hibernating, the only control you can give it is please wake up from hibernation. So what we can do is set up a burn that we want on this side of the at apoapsis. Sleep until we're most of the way there, and then wake up and do it. Ugh. I think this is a pretty complicated flight that would just be a lot easier if we added a couple batteries. And so maybe we'll end up entering the re-entering the atmosphere here, whether we like it or not. But I'll make an effort to stay in flight. Alright, we're full up on batteries. We're not at apoapsis anymore. But if we burn prograde here, we will adjust our periapsis. So let's try that. Let's turn the ship back on. And point prograde. We're not spending very much fuel doing, or much electricity doing this, so it's, I think, fine. Okay, good. Now let's burn a bit. Okay, we're at like 90 and 130. Not perfect, but I'll take it. Yeah, so electric charge is gradually going down here. Just while we're not even doing anything. Oh, we have SAS on. Is electric charge still going down? It is. So we have to click a hibernate button somehow in order to say we don't want to be doing anything. And then we'll gradually be gaining solar power. Okay. Interesting. Well, this is a new kind of problem to have. And then once we get to our Kerbal periapsis, or actually, yeah, or no, here, about where we are, I want to adjust, yeah, right now I want to wake up and adjust my orbit down. But I guess we're already sort of past the key point for doing that. Let's set a maneuver for here when we cross this equatorial orbit. It's locked. Very funny. Okay, well let's then warp to... Can I... Yeah. Warp here. Okay, that wasn't as far as I would have liked. Warp to here. And now, let's wake up. End hibernation, please. And we want to get pointing... normal or anti-normal. I can never quite remember which. So let's just point like this, and then... stop! And then zoom in on the ship and see which way we're actually facing. Blabs. Ugh. So we look like we're pointing down at the moment with respect to our orbit, which is not the way we want to be. We want to go the opposite way. So let's just flip over here. Face the regular old normal. So north is normal. North is normal. To adjust north, you burn normal. I'll try to remember that. And we're reasonably close to the node now. So let's just throttle up, and we're flattening out quite nicely here. Alright, we can't see our ascending and descending nodes very well, but we're in roughly the right place. Now, that's the periapsis that we would like to have. To get there, we need to add a maneuver here. Right? Where we burn prograde. Not quite there. How about here? Where we burn prograde for 23 seconds. So this is how we're going to get to our new... Is this the best way to do it? Or should I aim for the apoapsis first? I think let's aim for the periapsis, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it makes much difference. Okay, so we'll turn off RCS, not that it matters. Turn off SAS as well. So right now we're in the sun, which means we're getting enough power for, like, the fact that it doesn't matter that we're awake. But we would like to hibernate briefly now until we get to that maneuver to make sure we're awake when we get there. We have fuel. On the other hand, I mean, I guess our maneuver is right in the sun, so maybe it's fine. But let's just warp to here. This is exciting, isn't it? The mission's going a little longer than I would have liked, but no big deal. Time warp stopped. Oh, I didn't warp very close at all. We're still 2 hours away from our maneuver node. Oh no, we're 6 minutes away. We're 2 hours away from this. What is this? I don't know. Oh, our periapsis after burning. So after we go all the way out there, we'll be 2 hours away. Okay. So let's time warp again. And it's just a 23-second burn, so when we're like 10 seconds away from the node... You know what, actually, let's just Let's hit warp to the next maneuver. That should be plenty of time to fix things. It's not warping very quickly. It's warping at normal speed. Alright, well, let's cancel that. That doesn't seem like a time warp at all to me. Let's just warp to here. It's not time warping. We're not in the atmosphere or anything, are we? Oh, we are. I thought we had fixed that. Wait, our periapsis... is here. And it's... I can't read it under this dang... our periapsis is 68 kilometers. I see. So we can't actually warp to the encounter because we're going through the atmosphere at the moment. Alright, not a huge deal. We do seem to be in the sun, however, so let's go ahead and wake up. Can I not? Oh, I would have to end time warp to do that. Which is fine, since time warp wasn't even working. And... let's just take advantage of this time. We're now back out of the atmosphere. To orient ourselves prograde. I'm not sure why the maneuver is pointed there. That's the orientation we're going to want at... Alright, I'll take your word for it, game. This is the orientation we're going to want when we get to the maneuver. And we're like 3 minutes away from the maneuver. We're not burning any electric charge. So I'll just go ahead and warp at like 5x speed. Yeah, it looks like this orientation is right. The direction we're pointing is gradually becoming prograde? Something like that, I'm not sure. Stop time warping. Let's get ready to do a proper burn here. SAS on just briefly. Alright, SAS there. And in 10 seconds, we'll light them up to adjust our apoapsis out there. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, burn. Oh, no, SAS, please. Yeah, we need to be pointed like that. Okay. Whew. Alright, we're going to the right place. Yes, looking good. Stop, stop, stop! God dang it, I was pushing the wrong buttons. Alright, let's get... What is that apoapsis? 2.7 million meters? You know what? Actually, we accidentally did a perfectly fine thing. The other thing I was considering. We didn't... Oh no, we want this to be our periapsis. This has to be our periapsis. So, alright, let's point ourselves retrograde and fix that burn. We did set our apoapsis to this, but it's in the wrong place if it's going to be our apoapsis. Right there, please. Just a little bit of retrograde to bring the orbit back in. 2 point... What do we want exactly? 2.23? Oh yeah, we are like on the money. Right, let's delete this encounter, make sure I'm reading the right thing. Yeah, that's perfect. Our periapsis is very close to where they wanted it to be. And it's very close to the right part of the orbit to where they wanted it to be. So the last step, I believe and hope, is that when we get here, we'll just do a big old prograde burn to line up with this apoapsis, and that'll be that. We'll be in the right orbit. So... let's set that maneuver, I guess, for at our apoapsis. add a maneuver to burn prograde. I'm having trouble. Get out of here, navball. That's the problem. The navball was in the way. Okay. Burning prograde enough to bring our periapsis to become what we want our apoapsis to be. Whew. 2.73, 2.37. There we go. 2.693. I think they'll accept it. This looks like a great orbit. If they're so picky that they reject this, I didn't want to do business with them anyway. And so that burn is just 15 seconds long. Great. Let's briefly turn off the computer and warp to next maneuver. Alright, here we are. More or less at maneuver. Let's wake up. We are... Turn off SAS. We are burning electric fuel. We're in the dark right now. So we just want to get oriented prograde. SAS? Good. And we'll just burn for 15 seconds, and we'll start about 30 seconds from now. It looks like we're recovering electric charge quickly enough that I can use SAS without feeling too guilty about it. Okay, great. So burning in 3, 2, 1. Actually, let's just go. Keep an eye on this. 2.732. It's going to flip around before we get there, so we should pay attention to this as well. 2.732 is what we wanted. Alright, are we close enough for their specifications? Yes. They're happy with it, I believe. We just have to remain stable for 10 seconds. We did it! Great! So now, if we want to, we can decouple this stage and just leave this part floating separately from the rest. I don't know of any particular reason to do so. I put on a decoupler thinking it might be nice to separate them, but assuming anyway that I can extend the antenna. Require complete? I don't know. Yeah, I thought it might be nice to decouple it to make sure we could extend the antenna, but apparently we can do that anyway. So let's observe some mystery goo. Because we have a contract to send scientific data from space around Kerbal. I think this counts as space. I mean, it's orbit, but sure. So let's try transmitting it home. Transmit data. Yeah, transmit all. Okay, so did that work? No. It may be that we used up transmit data, transmit all. So, okay, we have this issue that we don't have enough electric charge to operate the antenna for long enough to send in the mystery goo. So let's like time warp times a bit. What So if I now say transmit data, what does this require complete? Transmission interruptions may compromise data integrity. Allow partial. I want to send partial data, right? Yeah, transmit all. And just like doing that does not seem to actually be sending the science home. Review data. Oh! Do I have to click on this? Transmit data? Maybe that's what I have to do. Mark this as wanting to transmit? I don't know. Let's let the electric charge up again. And say, yes, transmit. Transmit data, yes. What was that log? How do I look at the log? Manual, the flight interface, controls, general controls, toggle results screen, F3? Yeah. So I think we are not succeeding at transmitting this data back, is what is happening. We just don't have enough. If we'd put a battery on here, maybe we could do it. But this thing can't hold enough electricity at a time to transmit data, I guess, is what seems to me to be happening. Is this our progress bar? No, surely not. Transmit data. Experiment removed, module unoperable. I don't know. I don't seem to be able to do this, so maybe next time we'll put a battery on. But for the meantime, we achieved our goal, right? Not all of our goals. It would have been nice to do this science data thing. But we put a satellite into orbit in exactly the place where we wanted it. It took a little bit of fiddling, but we did it. So let's just cash in on this. Grab, it's not a lot of money, but it's some, and it was just really more of an exercise. That's what these contracts are all about, right? I'm not doing them because we're dying for money. I'm doing them because they're good, suggested learning exercises. And we did the exercise, and we learned some things, especially about how unmanned probes work and like why you might want a battery. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.